Heartwarming twist, Millionaire discovers ex-wife's incredible strength while dining with new love. Michael Thompson, a 40-year-old mogul, nestled comfortably in the plush cushion of a corner booth at Maplewood Grove's favorite cafe. His eyes gleamed with the promise of a bright future, a future he envisioned with Jessica, his enchanting fiancée, seated across from him, twinkling like the stars they were sure to chase together. They laughed, whispered sweet dreams, and teased one another, their enthusiasm dancing in the air around them. The aroma of freshly baked pies mingled with the warmth of community spirit, wrapping them in an embrace of familiarity and comfort until Michael's world tilted on its axis. Across the room, stood a woman he thought he'd left behind, Sarah, his ex-wife. She radiated charm, recounting tales of her tireless work advocating for underprivileged single mothers. The warmth of her voice wrapped around the patrons like a cozy blanket on a cold winter's day. Michael's breath hitched in his throat. He'd built a life of material success, yet Sarah's passion lit up the cafe. Each word she spoke ignited a rebellion of emotions in him. The weight of regret and inadequacy clashed violently with his external accomplishments. Jessica's admiration for Sarah was palpable, her gaze following Sarah like a moth to a flame. "Imagine, Michael," Jessica remarked, eyes wide with inspiration, "the incredible things she's done for those women." Each note in her voice struck him, amplifying the tension. A tightness formed in his chest as he sat there, admiring the brilliance of the woman who once stood beside him but had since soared far beyond his orbit. Questions bubbled within him. Did he truly excel? Had he mistaken wealth for worth? The comfort of his suburban life felt suddenly hollow as he listened to Sarah speak of sleepless nights fighting for justice for families, the sacrifices she'd made for their children, sacrifices he'd never understood. Each revelation layered a fresh coat of shame on his heart. His aspirations felt trivial in contrast. Before we continue, Michael thought of Jessica's bright excitement. "I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." He took a deep breath, injected with a new sense of purpose. "I'd love for us to collaborate, Sarah," he proposed, each word a fragile thread of hope as he tried to bridge the chasm between their worlds. Just as he thought he was reaching her, Sarah revealed the core of her struggles after their divorce. How she'd fought, not just for herself, but for the lives they had built together. The truth hit him with the force of a freight train, shaking the foundation he thought was solid. How had he been so blind to her pain? As they rose to leave the cafe, the air felt thick with unreconciled emotions, a heady mix of past loves and present possibilities. Michael's heart raced. Could he truly intertwine this newfound understanding with the future he envisioned with Jessica? Would the shadows of yesteryears cloud the dreams yet to be built? Doubts lingered like wisps of smoke, leaving him anxious for the clarity he desperately sought, knowing deep within that his journey was just beginning. Michael stepped out of Maplewood Grove, the chilly evening air brushing against his skin. Jessica fell silent beside him, sensing the tide of his thoughts. A part of him wanted to grasp her hand, to lose himself in her warmth, but another part felt the looming shadow of the past hanging over them. "What's wrong?" she finally asked, her brow furrowing in concern. He hesitated, weighing the choice between vulnerability and the instinct to shield her from his turmoil. "Just thinking about Sarah," he admitted, his voice barely a whisper. Jessica tilted her head, her gentle expression urging him to continue. "I mean, she's doing amazing work. I guess I just never really considered how much we grew apart after the divorce." Michael sighed, the weight of his reality crashing down. "It's not just that. It's like I was so focused on building my empire, I forgot about the real struggles people face. People I once cared about." Jessica frowned, her sincerity cutting through his fog of guilt. "You built more than an empire, Michael. You built a life, a vision. It's okay to feel conflicted. But you're not responsible for everything that's happened since. As they walked, the sounds of children laughing and families chattering drowned out the chaos in his mind, if only temporarily. He stole glances at Jessica, how her hair glistened in the streetlights, how her laughter danced in the air. She offered him solace, yet the stark contrast of their worlds tugged painfully at his heart. Maybe I could help her, he said, the thought taking root. I remember her always worried about funding for those single mothers she works with. Perhaps I could organize something, lay the foundation for charitable events. Jessica's eyes sparkled with excitement. That sounds incredible. You could even use your connections in the business world to bring awareness. A wave of warmth swept over him, but the doubt still lingered. Would Sarah even want his help? Should he take this step? A notion of his role in her life flared and flickered in his heart. But what if she sees it as pity? Or hope, Jessica countered, squeezing his arm. You can't underestimate the power of unity, especially when it's genuine. Maybe reaching out could ignite something bigger. He breathed in deeply, courage mingling with uncertainty. Taking action felt daunting, like a tightrope walk above the abyss of the past. Yet the flicker of possibility twinkled at the edges of his vision. Could helping Sarah also help him grow? As they reached her apartment, Jessica glanced upward, eyes sparkling with laughter. Simon, you still have to help me with that dinner party planning. I'll need your charming insights to impress my family. But as he stood at her door, Michael felt torn between the excitement of the future and the pull of his past. He should just focus on what lay ahead, yet Sarah's voice still echoed in his mind. Memories, once faded, were growing bright again, and they beckoned him closer. Let me think about it, he said, turning to face Jessica, wanting to envelop them both in the warmth of their shared dream yet feeling the heat of the past heat creeping back in. That evening, alone in his thoughts, he couldn't help but wonder, could this new venture connect him to Sarah in a way that healed? Or would it only dredge up old wounds? The night felt impossibly long as he mulled over how intertwined their destinies might still be. And just as resolutions began to surface, his phone vibrated with a message that would change everything, prompting a sharp intake of breath. Who could it be? Michael, you've got to see this. Michael's heart raced as he stared at the message. The screen illuminated the dim room, a lifeline thrown into the turbulent waters of his thoughts. He tapped the notification, and his breath caught in his throat. It was a video link from one of his old acquaintances, someone from the non-profit sector who had worked with Sarah. His finger hovered over the link for a moment. Could it provide the clarity he desperately sought? With a flick of his wrist, he opened it. The image flickered to life, revealing Sarah standing on a makeshift stage before a small but enthusiastic crowd in what looked like a community center. She spoke passionately about the challenges facing single mothers, their struggles intertwined with personal stories of heartache and resilience. Michael found himself transfixed, a knot tightening in his chest as he watched. There she was, the woman he had loved fiercely, igniting a fire in others with her words. She was radiant, her hands animated as she shared stories of triumph against adversity. Tears gathered at the corners of his eyes as he realized how drastically she had transformed, yet how much of the woman he had fallen in love with still shone through. As the video concluded, applause erupted in the room, and he caught a piece of the phrase fundraiser flickering in and out among the cheers. With a growing sense of urgency, Michael envisioned the possibilities. He could harness his resources, his connections, to help elevate Sarah's cause. It could bridge the gap between their worlds, and maybe even bring them closer together. With newfound determination, he texted Jessica, his fingers flying across the screen. Do you think you could help me set something up? I just watched Sarah speak, and it was incredible. I want to organize a fundraiser for her organization. Almost immediately, she replied, her enthusiasm spilling through the screen. Absolutely. I'll help you brainstorm ideas. Excitement bubbled within him. For the first time in what felt like forever, hope flickered through the fog of self-doubt clouding his spirit. They could create something meaningful, something that might just lead him back to Sarah not just as her ex-husband, but as someone who could be a part of her dream. He felt the pulsating energy of possibility begin to blend with the fears of rejection. What if she sees this as me trying to win her back? He whispered to himself, his doubt momentarily creeping in. But deep down, he knew this was about more than just rekindling old flames. It was about healing for both of them. That night, Michael fell into a restless sleep, visions of Sarah's voice echoing in his mind, her laughter mingling with the applause from the crowd. Her smile was a beacon, guiding him through the murky waters of their shared past. But just before dawn, another vibrate jolted him awake. He fumbled for his phone, hoping for confirmation or perhaps even a sign from Sarah herself. The message that appeared brought cold chills spiraling down his spine. "Michael, I need to talk to you, it's urgent." His heart pounded, racing with the threat of what the conversation might hold. What urgency could she possibly have in wanting to speak to him? Did she know about the fundraiser? Could this be a question of what they once shared or, worse, a hint of trouble? With his heart hammering against his chest, he wondered if he was ready for a confrontation that could change everything. Michael's mind raced, tangled in thoughts as he stared at the screen. Urgent didn't feel like the right word for Sarah's message, it stung like a warning bell in a quiet night. He took a deep breath and called her. The ringtone echoed painfully in the silence of his apartment. When she picked up, her voice trembled. "Michael, I wish I could have told you this in person." He could hear the strain behind her words, the weight of unsaid things lurking just below the surface. "What is going on, Sarah? You can tell me." I don't know how to say this," she paused, collecting her emotions. "My organization is in trouble. We lost a major funding source overnight, and without it, we can't continue our programs. I thought of you and how much you could help." Michael felt a wave of empathy crash over him. It wasn't just the organization, it was Sarah's dream, her calling wobbling. "What do you need?" "I can help," he said swiftly, trying to keep his voice steady. "I appreciate that, but it's more complicated than just money. It requires community support, awareness. I need something big to turn it around quickly, and I don't know if I have the strength left to do it alone," she admitted, a choked sadness breaking through. His heart ached at her sincerity. He thought of the video he had just seen, her inspiring words, the hope she gave others. "You won't be alone, Sarah. We can work together. I was already thinking of a fundraiser, something that ties people to your message. It can spotlight your cause, create a wave of support." For the first time since the conversation started, there was a pause filled with hesitation, but just enough flicker of hope. "Michael, you'd really do that? You'd come back into all of this?" "Absolutely," he responded without missing a beat, though he felt a twinge of anxiety. Did he dare dive back into her world? Into her life? But as he glanced at the fundraiser notes he and Jessica had begun brainstorming, he felt a rush of adrenaline. The weeks that followed fluttered by like the pages of a book in the wind. Meetings filled with ideas and laughter punctuated their texts and calls. People wanted to help her, even Michael's connections came out of the woodwork, eager to be part of a cause that pulled at the heartstrings, yet amidst the planning, sweet nostalgia wrapped around him as he recalled moments with Sarah, sharing dreams late into the night, seeing sparks fly from their once shared ambitions. His role was shifting fast. He was no longer just an ex-husband trying to win her back. He was a partner, embodying her values, using everything he had at his disposal. One evening, while they reviewed final plans for the event, Sarah's eyes sparkled with a familiar fire. "This means more to me than you know. I felt lost. But now, seeing this unfold, I'm so grateful we're collaborating." The warmth of her words filled him with a sense of purpose. "You inspired me to see possibility again," he replied, truth spilling out. Just then, her phone buzzed sharply on the table. She frowned, her brows knitting in concern. "Can we pause for a second? I need to check this." The moment hung heavy, his gaze flitted over her tense expression. What could it be? Then, she sighed, a soft and profound sound that weighed like stones. "It's about that funding we lost, there's news." As she read, Michael's heart began to pound again, dread churning in his stomach. Could it be good news? Bad? He leaned closer, desperate to share this pivotal moment with her, to ease her tension. But in the next heartbeat, Sarah looked up, her expression shifting from stunned to troubled. "What is it?" he asked, barely able to breathe. "It's not just the funding, it's something I never told you. Something I found out afterwards." The air thickened, the weight of her words hanging there like a ticking clock waiting to explode with the truth. Something inside him braced for impact. What could it be? He had no idea that the conversation would break the fragile ground they had built or possibly shatter the chance of redemption before it even began. Michael felt a cold sweat break out at the back of his neck. The intensity of Sarah's gaze sent his mind racing, each thought colliding into the next, but nothing made sense. What could she possibly say that would change everything again? "Sarah, you're scaring me," he managed, his voice barely above a whisper. She took a deep breath, her composure cracking slightly under the weight of her revelation. "The funding, it's linked to something larger, something I didn't know until recently. An investigation is underway into some of our major donors." His heart sank further. "What do you mean? Are they taking the funds back?" "No, it's worse than that. Some of them might be involved in fraud, and if our organization is associated with them, everything we've built could come crumbling down," she said, her voice trembling. Michael's mind exploded with possibilities, the implications wrapping around him tightly. This wasn't just about a fundraiser anymore, this was about saving Sarah's life's work from a danger he had never anticipated. "Have you spoken to anyone? What can we do?" he asked, urgency coloring his tone. Sarah shook her head, tears pooling in her eyes. "I didn't want to burden you with this, but I can't fight this battle alone. I need your help to fortify our image, to show the community we stand for something real, something good." Every muscle in Michael's body tightened, a plea for clarity driving him forward. "We can do this together. We will draft statements, hold community forums, anything. Don't lose hope." A flicker of appreciation crossed her face, though worry danced in her eyes. "But what if it's not enough? What if I've already lost people's faith? Sarah, you've inspired countless individuals. Your mission means more to them than the politics behind it. We just need to remind them of that," he asserted, gripping her hand tightly, squeezing reassurance into her shaking fingers. For a moment, their eyes locked, a past shared between them humming in the air. He could feel the longing fluttering like a flag cresting in the wind. But just as quickly, her gaze shifted away, burdened once again by doubt. "I don't know, Michael, you're stronger than you think. That's what brought me back into your life. Your strength, your courage. Together, we can face this," he urged, knowing that the enemy was not just the potential loss of funding, but the battle to reignite faith in what they both believed in. After a tense silence, he saw a spark of determination light up within her. "You're right. I can't back down now. Not after all we've built." "Good," he said, feeling a rush of relief. "Let us meet with the team tomorrow. We can brainstorm ways to show the community the truth behind us." As they sat together, plans swirling in their heads like the vibrant images of the fundraiser that had stirred hope, a sudden noise interrupted their focus. A soft knock at the door startled them. Michael glanced over, brow raised. "Do you expect anyone?" Sarah shook her head, looking puzzled. "I don't think so." With cautious steps, Michael walked toward the door, leaving Sarah to collect herself. As he opened it, he was greeted by a figure he never expected: Jessica, his current partner, standing there, a curious expression on her face. "Michael, I need to talk to you." "It can't wait." He froze, the weight of impending confrontation crashing down upon him. Jessica's eyes could not be any clearer, she sensed the tension in his voice when he said he'd be back soon. He turned slowly to face Sarah, noticing the confusion and pain flashing in her eyes. In that instant, the world felt small and chaotic, two lives colliding, ready to spill secrets that might change everything. "Michael?" Jessica interrupted, her impatience rising. "This is important." And in that moment, Michael was caught between the past and the present, choices closing in around him like the walls of a winding maze. What could she want? Would this derail everything he was trying to fix with Sarah? The questions consumed him, leaving a bitter taste in his mouth. But one thing was certain, the moment of truth was here, and it would take all his courage to face it head-on. Could he find a way to navigate these troubled waters without losing the chance for redemption? Michael stood frozen at the door, his heart pounding as he processed the whirlwind of emotions swirling within him. Jessica's presence felt heavy, a storm cloud looming over the fragile moment he shared with Sarah. "Just give me a minute," he said, holding up a hand as he turned back to Sarah. The look on her face twisted like a knife in his gut. Anguish filled her eyes, a helplessness that made his chest ache. "Michael, is everything okay?" she asked, her voice trembling. He wanted to tell her it would be fine. That whatever came next wouldn't change the resolve they had just ignited. But in that instant, all he could muster was a nod, painfully insufficient. "Michael." Jessica's voice cut through the air again, sharp and impatient. "We need to talk. Now." He caught a glimpse of her face, the tension taut in her features. Jessica was not the kind to wait. He braced himself. "I can take a moment." "No," she interrupted, stepping into the room. A whiff of her perfume filled the air, mingling oddly with the lingering scent of coffee and uncertainty. "I know she's involved in something with you. I could hear you, Jess, this isn't the time." Michael felt heat rushing to his cheeks as he squared his shoulders. He needed to handle this delicately, but inside he was crumbling. "Fine. We'll talk later," Jessica said, her voice quickening with frustration. Her gaze, however, darted back to Sarah with a sharp edge. There was a palpable tension as the two women faced each other. Michael felt caught in a crossfire he never intended to enter. "Michael, can you just explain?" Jessica's voice softened for a moment, nearly breaking, yet fierce in her own right. Sarah, as he hesitated, searching for the right words, knowing anything could misfire and set off more chaos. How could he explain the mess they were in without dragging them both down? "Michael," Sarah interjected, her voice steadier now, pulling him back to the ground. "This is about something much bigger than us." "Right," Jessica said, crossing her arms, then looking back at Michael. "What is going on with the funding?" The question hung in the air, a heavy weight nobody wanted to acknowledge. "It's complicated," Michael finally said. "And it's not something I wanted to throw on you right now. That's why I didn't mention it." "Complicated?" Jessica said incredulously. "It's larger than that." "How much are you involved?" "Everything we've put into this could be torn apart," Sarah said, her voice rising again as she stepped forward, almost protective. "Michael's been a huge support." Michael felt a warmth spread through his chest at her words, but this wasn't the time to indulge in sentimentality. "I can handle this," he said gently, hoping to soothe Jessica's nerves. "Let us focus on what's ahead. Do you think that ignoring this will make it all go away?" Jessica shot back, clearly on the brink of panic. "No," he replied firmly, "but we need a strategy, not an explosion." That seemed to settle somewhat. Jessica breathed out, her shoulders lowering just a fraction. "So what are you saying?" Michael glanced at Sarah, who was looking at him like he was her anchor, ready for whatever storm was about to hit. He had to take charge, to steer this ship before it capsized. "We need to regroup, confront the issues openly, and show everyone what we're really about." "Are you sure we can even salvage it?" Jessica asked, her expression softening as a hint of vulnerability crept in. "I've seen the impact we've made," Michael insisted, his voice unwavering. "We can't lose faith in each other, or what we stand for." Silence fell over the three of them, heavy and suffocating. Tension slowly began to dissipate, but doubt still lingered, threatening to suffocate their hopes. As Michael finally took a breath, something deeper began to rise. An understanding, a connection forming in this crazy whirlwind. Could they really forge a path through all the chaos and emerge stronger? He longed to grasp this moment tightly, to transform the uncertainty into something meaningful. "Let us sit down," he proposed quietly, looking between them. "We can sort this out together." Just then, his phone buzzed in his pocket, breaking the stillness. A message popped up from an unknown number, and a cold chill ran down his spine as he glanced at it. "We know what you're up to," he stared at the screen, dread pooling in his stomach. What had he just walked into? The heaviness of the moment thickened again, and he felt the ground shift under his feet. What did they know? Would this new threat tear them apart before they had a chance to unite? Michael's hands trembled slightly as he held the phone aloft, the message pulsing with a sinister gravity. Both Jessica and Sarah leaned in, their faces taut with concern. He could feel their eyes boring into him, a shared fear igniting as they awaited his response. "What does it say?" Jessica's voice was low, cautious. Taking a deep breath, he pressed his lips together, unsure how to unpack the weight of the words. "It's just a message from someone we don't know." "Do you think it's about the funding?" Sarah asked, her brow furrowing deeper. "It could be about anything," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "But it feels like a threat." Jessica's arms crossed tighter against her body, a protective barrier against the chill that had suddenly filled the room. "Why now? Why us?" That was the question, wasn't he it? Why now? Everything had felt so close to aligning, and now shadowy doubts clouded their future. "I don't know," he admitted. "But it probably has to do with the risk we're taking. Whatever the stakes are, we're crossing lines." His heart raced. The words sat heavy on his tongue. They had fought to carve out a space for passion, purpose, and hope, but now it felt like a storm was gathering. A dark omen lurking, waiting to tear them apart. "Michael, we have to be careful," Jessica said, her tone switching from anxious to fierce. "If someone's watching us, we can't afford to be reckless." Her eyes locked with his, and for a moment, he could see the flicker of vulnerability nestled just behind her determination. He understood then that fear bound them as much as their joint mission did. They shared this burden, whether they liked it or not. "I'm not going to let fear guide our next steps," he declared, trying to rally his own wavering conviction. "We need to think clearly. We can't let this message dictate our actions." Sarah nodded. "Let us use this as fuel to fortify our plans rather than scatter them into chaos. If they want to intimidate us, they don't know who they're dealing with." Michael felt a warm surge of admiration for Sarah's boldness. Her resolve had a way of lighting up the shadows, challenging him to do the same. But Jessica's face bore a different expression of familiar tension as she processed their words. "I'm with you both," Jessica said, her voice softer now. "But we have to be strategic. We need to gather information. Keep our eyes open, watch our backs." The air charged around them with a mixture of courage and trepidation. They were trying to navigate a storm, each readying themselves to face the waves crashing against their plans. "Let us create a plan after this," Michael suggested, gripping the phone tightly. "One that helps us address everything, the funding issue, this message," and a sudden knock at the door reverberated, slicing through their fragile resolve. Each glance passed between them was a mixture of alarm and unspoken worry. "Who could that be?" Jessica asked, her voice barely a whisper. Michael stepped toward the door, trying to suppress the knot tightening in his gut. He opened it slowly, heart hammering in his chest. Just outside stood a man, tall and stern. His presence felt threatening, like a storm front looming over them. "Michael Davis?" he asked, his voice gravelly. "Who's asking?" Michael replied, standing firm. "I'm here to discuss your funding," the man said, but his steely gaze was focused on Sarah, and something about the way he looked at her made Michael's heart drop. Was this man a friend or foe? And just like that, the unknown spiraled into a chaotic dance of danger, making Michael realize their fight was only beginning. But what message did this visitor bring? Would it steer them deeper into turmoil or hint at a glimmer of hope? Michael's heart raced as he scrutinized the stranger's face, trying to read the intentions hidden behind his cold demeanor. He noticed the way the man's eyes darted back to Sarah, an unsettling intensity making Michael's protective instincts flare. "Look, we're not interested in any trouble," Michael said, his voice firm but steady. "If you're here about funding, we can arrange a meeting." The man's lips curled into a wry smile, but the humor didn't reach his eyes. "No need for a formal gathering. I'm here to assess the situation. You're stepping into dangerous waters." Jessica inched closer to Michael, her presence a firm reminder that they were in this together. "And who exactly are you?" she asked, her voice challenging. "I represent several investors," the man replied, unbothered by her defiance. "I'm here to see if you're worth the risk." "What do you mean by that?" Sarah pressed, her voice steady despite the tremor of concern beneath. His eyes moved from one of them to the next, as if gauging their reactions. "The attempt to break into a market that threatens powerful interests rarely ends well. I'd hate to see you three face the consequences of your ambition." "What kind of consequences are we talking about?" Michael's fists clenched slightly, ready for whatever came next. "Let's just say, not everyone appreciates disruption," the man replied, his tone clipped. "You might be opening doors you can't close. You need to tread carefully unless you're ready to deal with those who don't take kindly to competition." Michael exchanged glances with Jessica and Sarah, feeling a mix of anger and determination swirl in him. "We're not backing down from our mission," he stated, an unwavering strength in his resolve. "Boldness can be admirable," the man shot back, his lips thinning. "But it can also be naive. You need to understand the stakes involved. We're in an industry where power can make people disappear. Make sure you keep your eyes wide open." "Thank you for the warning, though we don't need it," Jessica retorted, her voice gaining confidence. "We've made our choice, and we stand by it." A tense silence settled between them, broken only by the sound of Michael's racing pulse echoing in his ears. The man seemed to sense the strength of their unity, his eyes flickering with annoyance. "Perhaps you'll reconsider," he murmured, before taking a deliberate step back. "But if you decide to continue down this path, know that I'll be watching." With that, he turned, walking away down the dimly lit hall. Michael slammed the door shut and leaned against it, heart pounding in a mix of fear and resolve. "That was intense," Sarah breathed, breaking the silence that hung in the air. "What does it mean for us?" Jessica asked, both fear and fire in her gaze. Michael rubbed the back of his neck, the reality of what just happened sinking in. "It means we have a target on our backs," he replied, his voice lower now, almost a whisper. "We've stirred something up that we can't back away from now." "But we can't let this shake us," Sarah said, looking between them with fierce determination. "If we're going to fight for our vision, we can't let fear control us." Even as he nodded, Michael felt the weight of uncertainty closing in. Their plans suddenly felt more precarious than ever. Would they forge ahead, risking everything, or step back to regroup in safety? "Let's get to work," Michael finally said, shaking off the chilling tension. "We need to strengthen our strategy, and fast." As the three of them gathered around the table again, the flickering light caught Jessica's face, determination mingling with fear. In that moment, a heavy resolve began to settle within him, igniting a fierce sense of unity, but just as their spirits began to rise, Michael glanced at his phone again, feeling the weight of the earlier message. What if there were deeper connections to uncover? What if there were unseen threats lurking behind shadows far more dangerous than a looming investor? Was this really just the beginning of their struggle? The atmosphere in the dimly lit room felt heavier, suffocating almost, as Michael, Sarah, and Jessica huddled around the table. The sound of the old clock on the wall ticked in a rhythmic dance with their escalating heartbeats. Each second stretched into an eternity while fear and determination clashed like storm clouds above. "We need to act now," Sarah said, her eyes darting to the door as if expecting their ominous visitor to return at any moment. "We can't let this guy intimidate us." Michael's jaw tightened. He admired her steel, but the doubt lingered. "We need to think this through. What we felt there, it was serious. "This isn't just about us anymore," he said, trying to maintain calm even as his insides churned. Jessica leaned forward, her brows furrowed in thought. "Maybe we should look into this investor of his. He might not be as far removed from our goals as he seems." "If we can figure out who he really is and what he wants, right," Michael interrupted, suddenly feeling a surge of resolve. "We could turn this message into an opportunity. Overall, we've got people rooting for us. Maybe even more than we realize." "So we dig deeper," Sarah agreed, a flicker of hope igniting in her resolute expression. "We find out what they're scared of and turn that fear into our strength." With the tension easing, they began tossing ideas around. They laid out potential strategies, mapping out their next steps. As they worked, the earlier dread slowly transformed into a shared excitement, a bond forged in uncertainty. Just then, Michael's phone buzzed again, slicing through the moment. He hesitated, then opened the message. In the corner of his eye, he caught Jessica's anxious glance. The screen lit up with a photo of a tall figure cloaked in shadows, a silhouette he recognized too well. "It's Emily," Michael whispered, confusion flooding his thoughts. When had she become a part of this chaotic web? "Who's Emily?" Jessica asked quickly, her voice edged with concern. "My ex-wife," he confirmed, heart pounding. "She's complicated." "But this?" He shook his head, fighting to grasp the implications. "What does she want?" Sarah inquired, intuition kicking in. "Do we know?" Michael raked his fingers through his hair, mind reeling. "I don't know, but if she's involved, it changes everything, doesn't it?" A cold chill crept into the room, thickening the air. The trio exchanged worried glances, the stakes rapidly rising. The shadows of their previous conversation returned, swirling like ghosts as they contemplated the deeper connections that lay hidden. "I think we need to get in touch with her. Find out why she's reaching out now," Jessica proposed, determination reigniting between them like a flame in the dark. "But she might be dangerous," Michael cautioned, hesitation dancing in his chest. "I've seen what she's capable of when pushed." "But whatever's going on, we can't afford to turn a blind eye," Sarah urged. "If there's a chance she can help or hinder, we deserve to know." Michael took a deep breath, trying to steel himself for what was to come. "You're right. It's a risk, but we need to face this head-on." As they plotted the next steps, a sense of resolve formed among them. With the shadows creeping closer, Michael felt a rush of the familiar protectiveness surge through him. "Whatever happens, we stick together," he vowed. As they locked eyes, a newfound fire filled the room, a fierce determination to confront their fate. But just before the moment settled, Michael's phone dinged again. The notification flashed on the screen, "Meet me where it all began." Fear tightened his chest. What could that possibly mean? Michael looked at Jessica and Sarah, adrenaline jolting through his veins. "I guess we're about to find out." Morning sunlight streamed through the window, igniting the colors around Michael as he paced his apartment. His heart raced, fueled by uncertainty and anticipation. Sarah's plea echoed in his mind, a reminder of the vision they had built together. They were standing on the brink of something bigger, a chance to not only save her organization but also perhaps redefine their connection. That he grabbed his phone, scrolling through messages, repeatedly checking for anything from Emily. When it finally buzzed, he opened it with a mix of hope and apprehension. "Meet me where it all began," rattled in his brain like a striking bell. It was cryptic and full of memories, pulling Michael into the whirlpool of nostalgia and apprehension. Thoughts of Jessica and Sarah tangled within him. He wished for clarity, but instead, uncertainty flooded his mind. The three of them had navigated through storms, but now, they were standing on the edge of a new precipice. Jessica entered, her fingers running through her hair, her brow furrowed in concern. "You okay?" Her voice was soft yet filled with determination. She approached him, and he could see the flicker of excitement mixed with worry reflected in her eyes. "I just got a message from Emily," he confessed, his voice steady even with the tempest of emotions swirling inside. "About what?" Jessica inquired, anxiety creeping into her tone. "She wants to meet," he sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "I can't shake the feeling that this is a big deal. It always is with her. Is it worth going?" "What does she want?" Jessica asked, arms crossed, bracing for the impact of his response. "All I know is that it has something to do with our past and maybe the present," he answered, struggling to keep his emotions in check. At that moment, Sarah walked in, her presence radiating with confidence. "Well, what's the plan?" "I overheard part of that last bit." "This is about Emily." "She wants a meeting," Michael relayed. "I don't know if we should trust her, but we might not have a choice." "Trust is a funny thing," Sarah remarked, tilting her head slightly and tapping her chin thoughtfully. "If you feel like this could help us, then we should go." "You can't hide from the past forever, Michael." He nodded, the weight of her words anchoring him. "You're right. We also need to make sure we have each other's backs. If we face this, we face it together." Jessica chimed in, "Absolutely. Whatever comes up, we keep our circle tight." They locked eyes, each feeling the gentle pulse of solidarity binding them together amidst the storm of uncertainty. "Where do you want to meet her?" Sarah inquired, glancing at Michael with a spark of curiosity. "Woodbury Park," he responded, recalling how many memories were captured amidst the trees and benches where they had once shared laughter and dreams. "It's where it all began, for better or worse." "Then let us go," Sarah urged, determination threading her voice with empowerment. As they strode through the park, the sense of unease mingled with hope. Perhaps this meeting with Emily would bring clarity. Or perhaps it would plunge them further into confusion. Upon arrival, Michael's heart pounded, a feeling of nostalgia enveloping him as he spotted the familiar bench. Standing just beside it was Emily, her presence unmistakable, a mix of grace and fire. "Emily," he greeted, masking apprehension with a veil of neutrality. "Michael," she replied, a smile sweeping across her face, but something about her eyes felt stormy, as if a tempest was brewing beneath the surface. That he could sense Sarah and Jessica eyeing her warily, their protective instincts kicking in. "What did you want to talk about?" Emily stepped forward, her voice steady. "I have information that can help you with your project, but it comes with risks. You need to know that before you dive deeper." Michael's chest tightened. "What do you mean?" "The donors you're working with, I have information on some of them. Some might cross paths with dangerous individuals. I don't want to see you hurt." "Why would you help now?" Jessica interjected, arms still crossed, suspicion lacing her. Every word. "Because I don't want that to happen to anyone. I see potential in what you three are trying to achieve, and despite our past, there's a chance for a clean slate." Michael turned to Sarah, seeking her input. "What do you think?" "I don't trust her," Sarah replied cautiously, a resoluteness in her tone. "But I can't deny that she's connected. There may be truth in her words." The tension hung heavy in the air as Michael processed this new information, the past swirling alongside the promise of the present. "We need to dig deeper. If Emily is right about these donors, perhaps we can use her intel to protect ourselves and the mission." Emily's face softened slightly, her demeanor shifting to show a hint of vulnerability. "I'm not the enemy, Michael. I've made mistakes, but I want you to succeed." "Then let us organize a meeting," he proposed, the exhilaration of taking back control flooding his veins. "This has to be done carefully." As they gathered the scraps of a new plan, Michael felt the unfurling threads of possibility weaving their way back into the fabric of his life. He glanced at Jessica and Sarah, determination blazing within their eyes. "Whatever we do," he began, "we'll commit to one another. This isn't only about our mission, it's about all of us." They exchanged nods, a pact formed amidst the shadows of uncertainty, as they prepared to navigate the daunting challenges ahead. And as the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting golden hues across the park, Michael realized that sometimes, the end of one story was merely the beginning of another. These next steps would determine their future not just for themselves, but for countless others who depended on their courage. Side by side, they stepped into the unknown, hearts racing with hope. You need to subscribe now to ensure you don't miss our next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support and make a difference. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending.